Oh, blimey, it's like Blackpool Illuminations. God, leaving all these lights on. Oh, God. Don't they know the cost of things, these bloody people? God. Blue light, what are we? Dixon and Dock Green? Heavens above. Leaving these lights burning day and night. And who's going to pay for it, eh? Who's going to pay for it? Not me, I'll tell you. Not me. Oh. I'm the night porter here. My job's to make sure they turn these lights out. Because it's costing the landlord a fortune. Now someone's left the light on downstairs. Oh.
Today's video started out on Twitter, where ZX Vintage 40 tempted me with another page from the classic magazines. This was a nice image on the left of a mysterious mustachioed man and a game called Lights Out. So I had a quick look on Spectrum Computing, and it's listed there, but there is no program, because no one's typed it in yet. And you know what that means? Unique content. Fortunately at home I've got access to high quality scans, so here's the lovely cover of Sinclair Programs, and you find out in 1984 they were paid £10 whole for a programme, which is worth over £40 today. And here's the programme. It's for the 16K ZX Spectrum. The picture is bigger than the programme, and it's written by Ben M Ware of Southwick in Sussex. I've typed in the game and submitted it to Spectrum Computing exactly as written. On tape it is 2041 bytes and doesn't take long to type in. Takes about 20 seconds to load. And you start out with the instructions. Your job's in Night Porter to run around the block of flats switching off the lights using the cursor keys 5, 6, 7, 8. However, you can fall off the edge of the flats if you're not careful. And you make money based on how long it takes to do it. And here we are, a nice big block of flats. We can't see ourselves because we're in the dark. It's a cyan background, green for the grass, and the lights are represented by quote marks, which are very simple but rather elegant, because what you want is to be able to use the screen string function. You can't use UDGs for that, you have to use standard characters, and the quote marks work absolutely fine for that. There are two user-defined graphics in the game, the grass and the little man. Here I'm roaming around the dark, turning out all these lights. Every time I extinguish a light, I get some wages. But I can't quite see where the edge of the mouse is. No, that's it. And on to the next level. Go to the top of the flats. Move around. It's simple but still an elegant charm to it. And of course, when you're not turning out lights, you're wandering in the dark, you're not quite sure where you are. And there are no safety railings in this block of flats. It's a health and safety nightmare. Not quite sure where I am. And I've plummeted to my death and can have another go if I want to. Let's have a quick look at the source code. You can see he's doing 2 reads to look at the user-defined graphics, and he's on data. Every single byte has a separate data statement, which is inefficient. He's also using bin, which is not the best use of space, but it's not too bad. Line 100 though is a bit more fancy. He's using clever maths for the in keys. And there are the instructions there. Last of it, line 540, he saves the game with an auto run. Let's make it better. You're a night porter, so it's meant to be night time, so why is the sky cyan? Change the paper to black, change the ink of the lights to yellow, and this looks alright. Unfortunately, we've now lost the roof of the block of flats, which is in darkness, but it looks okay. I think we can improve it though if we change the sky to blue. So you get a bit of contrast. Also need to change the colour of the grass, so the background of the grass is blue. Yeah, that's a bit better. But there's no background, so it's a strange block of flats in the middle of nowhere. What if we had some backdrop? We had to change the paper of the grass to black to give a impression as there's buildings behind it. Unrem this line 76 and run that. And we now get random tall buildings in the background, which are different from our block of flats in the foreground. It's not bad. But there's no time limit. What if there was a time limit? And then what would happen if the time limit ran out? On the same day that the tweet went out about Lights Out, there was the sad news that Ian Lavender, star of Dad's Army and other things, had sadly passed away. I met Mr. Lavender once at a charity event. He was a patron of a cat charity I was helping. So that got me thinking of Dad's Army, World War II, and the reason why you might want to put the lights out, because of the blackout during the Blitz. I then thought of Chief Air Warden Hodges, the nemesis of the Home Guard in Dad's Army, and that gave me the idea of setting the game in World War II in London during an air raid.
We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. And even if...
Put that light out!
I'm making a speech, you know.
Don't you know there's a war on?
Yes, I do know. I'm the Prime Minister.
That cigar's like a Felicia beacon for them bombers. Get rid of it. Have one of these instead.
But it's not really the same thing, though, is it?
I experimented to get some ideas of what would work and what wouldn't work. There's a little program here called Bomber, and it displays stuff on the screen. There's a few UDGs here. I'm putting a pause in to see what it does, and when we run it, we get barrage balloons on the screen tethered to the ground with a line. The barrage balloons are, of course, user-defined graphics, and the line is done with draw. Here's how that bit works, which is line 30. We generate a random position on the screen, X and Y, which we then do a print at. We then have to do a little bit of maps to position our plot, which we want to be in the middle of the... So it's X, X plus 6. And then working where we are from the top of the screen down, because plot works from the bottom up, whereas print at works from top down. Then we just draw a line straight down. And when we press a key, a German bomber flies overhead. Nice simple scrolling there, all done in BASIC. And that is done, the rather complicated line starting at line 100. The first thing we do is print the front of the bomber at the top right of the screen. Then we repeatedly print the whole bomber, and mostly a space, but we don't want to go over the line. And at the end of it, we print at the top left the tail of the bomber.
Oi, Napoleon! Put that light out! I cannot, for it is the light of my military genius. This is not the time for military genius. Don't you know there's a war on? I would think that during a war is precisely the time for military genius. You've got a point. Why don't you go join the Home Guard? D'accord.
I was pleased with my skyline, with user-defined graphics for Tower Bridge, the Tower of London. St Paul's Cathedral looked okay, but I was pleased with the Houses of Parliament and Big Ben. Looking at St Paul's Cathedral, I wasn't happy with it. It's hard to get a dome right, and this dome, it wasn't looking proper. So I found a nice picture from Pexels, now Canva, by Olga Lioncat, and thought, right, why not draw it using a combination of low resolution and high resolution graphics, and get it looking right. So here I have the tower on the left with a little pinnacle. I draw the dome, I fill it in, I blank out the little windows, I have various pillars, and the little pinnacle on the top of the dome. And that looks reasonable. How to get that into memory? I wrote some code which looks at the data on the screen in the screen buffer from 16384 onwards and tells the individual bytes. This is a 4x4 square at the top of the screen, nice and simple. The first two are obviously spaces, we don't care about those. We then get a line of single pixels and then a load of other pixels on the right hand side, which is the very left of a square, which is the top of the pinnacle. The second row, we have the little knobbly bit on the top of the tower, then a space, and then 2 halves of the Dome of St. Paul's. The third row is a standard graphic from the graphic set, then a space, and then a set of pillars, which are just simple lines, but they look quite effective. And the base is, of course, the standard reverse 8 graphics block, which is solid ink. The basic to display these is a little bit heinous, but essentially you start at 16 through 8, 4, 5, 6 or 7, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then work out the offset, which is going to be at 32 times the row, plus some random offset. It's a bit weird, but it does kind of work. I challenged myself to keep to the 16K spectrum, no 48K extensions, but I had enough space to add a font. I took a stencil font from Roberto Colombo's Charbank, edited it slightly, and we have an updated instruction screen here explaining that your job as an ARP warden is to put the lights out, don't know there's a war on. I've also changed the keys to QAOP. I find them easy to use. And now you're going to last as long as you can before the Luftwaffe bomb London. There are 2 black spaces in the building. This is to make the game a little bit harder, and each level you start off with more lights switched off. This is because you don't know where you're starting. There is 1 barrage balloon. That's a clue as to what level you have. Note that the wages are paid in D, which is old pennies. The time is counting down. Can I clear the level before the time runs out? If you do, the Luftwaffe can't find London because it's all dark. And you go on to the next level. Oi! Put that light out!
Don't you know who I am?
You can't be hanging around the hospital with a lamp. You'll have them buzzing around here like wasps around a pot of jam.
It's how I look after the sick and the wounded.
I don't care.
But it's part of my identity. It is in my name.
You want to see at night? Use a carrot.
I'm not sure the lady with a carrot will go down quite so well in history.
Alliteration's not my concern, love. Unless you want to be the crumpet with a carrot. One of my ideas was to change the wages into old money, pre-decimalisation, pounds, shillings and pence. And I wanted to start with the smallest coin, which is the farthing, which is a quarter of a penny. So I created some UGGs for fractions. And we're starting up, adding a quarter of a penny at a time. Yeah, that works fine. There's your farthing. There's your halfpenny. There's 3/4 of a penny, which is 3 farthings. There's a penny. Excellent. Oh, it's broken down. Okay, we haven't got farthings anymore. Oh, we got 3 farthings, but not 1 or 2. There's 2 pence. Yep, exactly. The bottom shows the remainder after taking away 2. Yeah, that doesn't quite work. So we're showing the values there. 2.25 and 0.25 is 1 minus the into the other. So we're now going to do the maths. So is B 2.5? No, it is not. It shows as 0.25, but it is not 0.25. So let's now create a new variable C, which is the remainder. And C is not 0, but it's a tiny, tiny, tiny number. There are issues with fractions because we use base 10 numbers. Unfortunately, computers use base 2, which is binary. So it doesn't always quite work. So I abandoned this idea. Jumping ahead to level 8 now. There's a lot less time. I've paid a lot of money though. And a lot of those blank spaces make it a little bit tricky to know where you are. A good system is to roam up and down the stairs. Chief Air Warden will be very, very fit. Chief Air Wardens wore white hats with black letters on it. Normal Air Wardens wore black hats with white letters on it. their helmets were not fit for use at the front and had little perforations around the rim to show that they weren't really safe for against small arms fire. Oh dear, here come the Luftwaffe. And London is ablaze. We still get paid £11, 18 shillings and 7 pence. There are 240 pence to the pound and 12 pence to the shilling. That is one of the ways you lose by running out of time. The other way is, as before, falling out of the top of the building from a great height. You still get paid even though you're dead. Possibly goes to your widow. But what if you leave the building on the ground floor? You can't fall to your death from the ground floor. That's just silly. So what happens if we leave? Let's find out. Bomb. You abandoned your post and are arrested by the Home Guard.
Put that light out! Oh, who goes there? What on earth do you think you're doing?
I'm guarding the municipal gasworks. I'm looking out for enemy paratroopers. Corporal Jones says if any come, I need to stick him right up 'em, because they don't like it. They don't like it up 'em.
You can't have an open flame near the gasworks. You'll have us all up. Right, I'm having your name. What is it, Sonny?
Oh,
Don't tell him, Bagman. Napoleon. You are under arrest for deserting your post in a time of war.
blimey.